Google is facing backlash after reports it has been working to release a censored version of its search engine for the Chinese government. According to the Intercept, there has been an internal struggle within the company about the project, codenamed Dragonfly. The version would comply with China's strict censorship controls, blocking certain search terms. For more, executive editor at CNET News, Sherr, joins me from San Francisco. Hi, Ian. What does China want to restrict and censor in Google searches, and what would actually be blocked?
So, for the most part, what China is looking to censor is stuff around human rights, free speech, a lot of the stuff that really upsets the regime there. And it's something that tech companies particularly have really struggled against because the ethos around Silicon Valley is this idea of, maximalized free speech and giving access to information to everybody. And so it's set up this very weird power struggle between the Chinese government, who controls access to the Chinese market, and these U.S. tech companies.
Google has a bit of a history with China. This isn't the first time this has come up. Can you tell us a bit more about their previous relationship and what happened then?
Yeah, so Google actually was in China. You could use the Google search engine for quite a while until 2010, when the company pulled out around issues around censorship, but also, you may remember, there was concerns about Chinese hacking happening back then. And so now it looks like Google might be turning that around. But it's worth noting, part of the reason that we're seeing some of this is that the growth of both Google and Facebook, for that matter, in the United States and the Western world has started to slow. And this is an opportunity. There's 1 billion people in China. It's 3 times the number of people in the United States. It's a big opportunity to grow, but you have to deal with these very hairy issues.
There have been reports of rumblings going around Google headquarters in regards to Project Dragonfly. How are the employees reacting to the idea of a censored Google?
So Project Dragonfly is what this whole thing is being called. And, look, employees generally in Silicon Valley really don't like bending to governments. We've seen this quite a bit, especially at Google. There was another project that was involving the State Department that got very public fight between Google and its employees. And there was pushing back from the employees on the ground. We've seen other stuff like this, too, where a lot of the companies, their employees just don't want to give up on these ideals that they're working toward when they're talking about all the stuff that Silicon Valley does. So it's a very tough issue.
Really tough for the employees. And now Google has not made any public statement denying the claims that they are working with China. What does this say about the project to you?
I mean, it seems like, from all accounts, that this is something that would make sense that they would try to do. And it's serious enough that just a few minutes ago, we saw that Senator Mark Warner sent a letter to Google asking for details. And part of what he's concerned is about the United States giving up on, any U.S. company giving up on the ideals of the United States, which is kind of talking about free speech and all of that. So people are taking this as something that's probably a given that at least Google's really seriously looking at it.
How do the employees feel about working with the government, whether foreign or domestic?
I think if you look at what happened between Apple and the FBI, you get a really good sense of where Silicon Valley sits on this. You may remember that Apple went against the FBI a couple years ago, arguing that they should not be forced to help hack into a terrorist's iPhone to get information. And part of their concern was that by giving any government access to the phones, what it does is it reduces the security for all of us and political dissidents and all these other people who you wouldn't want to have their phones hacked, possibly. So what we see is that Silicon Valley has set itself up for being in this really big struggle with any government who wants to come down on either privacy issues, free speech issues, and so on. And it's probably going to become even more of a problem as these companies start looking to try and grow in China.
It will be interesting to see what happens. Sherr, thank you.
My pleasure.